Well, I guess it's time to face the truth.
I'm going to pull up the most recent piece I finished. This is The Siren Silica, but I have a slight issue with her. You see, she's just kind of flat.
You see, for an art study, I recently bought this book by one of my favorite shows, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. It's fun, it's interesting, it's fantasy, it's about spirits and ghosts and this girl in high school who just wants love, and I love her. This series is also great for those of you who watch Cyberpunk. Here's another couple that you can cry about when the moon is mentioned. But yes, I love this art style specifically because it is so different from what we've seen in anime in the past. The ultra thin, beautiful people. They're still very pretty and they actually look like children, which I really enjoy. It's not my favorite when you take characters who are supposed to be very young and you make them look older, or when they're younger they look like children but they're actually 200. You know who you are. But I want to specifically talk about the style and how they use colors, and eventually in this video move on to trying to incorporate mine. I've been looking at this for a few days now, and I've been noticing how well they use different colors. Like, for example, just in Hanako's hands, there's one, two, three, four, five, and maybe six colors just to create this very interesting silhouette here. And I just love these character designs because they all have different eyes. Let me actually go to a page that showcases that incredibly well. Here we go. So one of the characters, Ko, has more quote unquote normal eyes, just just kind of the normal eyes that most anime has, just with a solid color, a little line for shadow, and then yeah. But we move on to Hanako, and his eyes have always reminded me of fish scales. And that really interests me because it shows a lot between their characters. Even with spoilers for this, but Hanako's twin brother, Tsukasa, his eyes are a little lighter, and they're great twin representation, honestly. They work well together, but they're still based on their backstory. There's a lot of differences between them. They were still good brothers, but now things have changed, and thanks to the supernatural, things get a little wacky. And then here's a better look at Nene's eyes. They are kind of a mix between Hanako's and Ko's. In the story, this is really interesting. There's an entire story between their eyes. Hanako, spoiler alert here, is a ghost. Ko is very much alive, and he comes from a family of exorcists. This is his little weapon here. It's kind of like an electric magic stick, which is really fun. And then Nene, here's the thing. You can only see ghosts and have access to Hanako. For those of you who don't know, there is an actual myth for Hanako the bathroom ghost. And originally, the story is about a girl who lives in the bathroom, and I believe it's the third stall. And if you knock on the door, you and say, Hanako, 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 are you in there? You can get a wish. And of course, then we deal with a monkey paw situation. There will always be an equal price. But you can only access that if one, your family is really close to the supernatural, like Ko's is with being exorcists, or you're close to dying. And in the show, it is shown that Nana is exceedingly close to passing away, like within the year. She will not make it. And in between their eyes, with the living and the dead, and Nene being the in between, I think that's so cool. And I've noticed a lot how they push their shapes. Let me pull up a better one that showcases this. I do believe, yeah, even here you can see, okay, I'm doing this with one hand, so it's a little interesting to do. And this is a fairly newer addition to my book collection. But this right here is exceedingly, it's not too far exaggerated, but it's still exaggerated. You can see it in Hanako's arms too, even with their body shape. Hanako really wants to save Nene, so you see him leaning towards her. And oh, it's so gorgeous. Like, oh, I love this. I love this show. I have 2 more episodes to watch for season 2. I'm just happy it got a season 2, Loki. But like, let me go find there was like a Windex picture. Work with me here. But you can also see it in the character designs for here as well. Okay, let's not do that. I think I want to start pushing my art more and just adding a bunch more colors to help with the interest of it all. Let me see. There's a really good example here of how much they push things. I'm gonna censor that a little bit. Especially in like the more cartoony ones where you'd expect to see it, there's a lot of stretching and there's not really any straight lines here. Like even if we look at this character's Mitsuba, he's cute and I love him, even though he is, I really like Mitsuba because he's very cutesy, but he's also kind of has a mouth on him. But if we look at his arm, we see that it's not perfectly straight. There's a little indentation here. Another thing I really want to work on is making the mouths more 3D. Mine tend to be flatter, and I do want to exaggerate more. And I've been really studying this page as well. Because if we look closely at the mouth, the teeth kind of go over and actually show dimension. And there's a ton of color just in this part of the drawing as well. And I did find the page of where there's a great representation of pushing your lines and not having everything be flat. Of course, we know what a Windex bottle looks like, but this right here is really interesting to me because it really pushes this. It pushes this forward. It guides your eyes from here. It's away from Ko's attention. It's something that he's not focusing on, therefore it's going away from him. Meanwhile, this character here, I unfortunately can't remember her name. She was new to season 2, but I absolutely love her. Her whole personality and character arc is surrounded by art, so you have all her art around her and almost butterfly wings. She was very chronically ill in life, and through her art, she could gain wings, which I do like how these look like wings, but they're also pulling her art towards her because after she dies, she was almost immortalized in her art, and that's just so gorgeous to me. I also want to work more on foreshortening. Here's a great example of foreshortening, and I'll pull up another example with a both of mix of pushing lines and foreshortening. But you see how much interest we have here, and especially in her hair, there's a lot of colors and different values. And I did see a video where darker values help to draw the eye. And even if the background's the darkest, there's still the darkest part is always going to be her chest and to the character, but there's also a lot of color and brightness to contrast that, which works really well. So here's the page where it shows great line pushing and foreshortening. I love this page because it shows Hanako as a person. He also goes by 2 names. He has 2 names. There's Hanako, which is he is referred most to, but there's also Akane, which was his human name when he was alive. And you see the little spaceship? Foreshadowing. But it's so interesting to see the line pushing, and I've been genuinely studying this. And I also want to work more on where I place my shadows because I tend to put them on like where the lighting for this one, for the rim lighting is. I put that there instead of here, and I need to work on that. But you even see the details in the background where there's just little specks of color, and it really draws the eye here because surrounding is all light, but here that's the darkest part of the drawing, and your eyes even go to it, and it's so pretty. And then I also want to show this page due to the fact that look at the fur. Look how much texture is in there, and there's hardly any liner other than the outline of the paws and the paw pads itself. And a lot of the texture is created by taking different colors and really laying that on. And this one is more of the simple drawings, and you see a lot even in Nene's mouth here. There's hardly any liner other than the smile. This is a technique where you darken and thicken the lines around whatever subject you want, in this case, her mouth and eyes. And the detail is still there. Humans are really great at filling in gaps of what we want to know. So even if her teeth are there, we still perceive it as a mouth. And it's so interesting. And the next page I'm showing for my cyberpunk edge runners fans. Because yep, if I had 2 nickels for every time a couple was obsessed with the moon and it was sad and I thought the show would be fun, I'd have 2 nickels, which is weird because it happened twice. And I want to talk about this character specifically because since he has more than a few limbs, there's a lot of potential for play around here. You see, especially in this leg right here, there's so much line pushing that it really encapsulates his fun demeanor. This is one of the teachers. I'm really bad at names, especially if they're. I had a like for Sukasa, I literally had to take the Barbie meme of Mojo Dojo Casa House and put that to him. I really try to learn names. Sometimes they don't stick though, and that's okay. We will work, but we also see line pushing here and Ko, where he's on the defensive. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can figure. There's clearly something going on in this specific doodle, but there's a lot of fun. Nene is obviously scared. Ko is being defensive because I think that might be a flame or spider. I'm pretty sure he doesn't like bugs. I'm like so positive. And then this character right here is very fun. He's a teacher, but he's not the creepy teacher. So he gets to have a little bit more fun. You can even see here he's not the only thing that's reaching towards the kids is the hand holding the lamp. I'm pretty sure he just surprised them. Actually, like they were in the dark about something and then he came in to illuminate that, which is really interesting, especially with the fact that he is a teacher. Another thing I really want to work on is having characters interact more. I tend to do one character drawings because it's not faster, it's just something I've been getting into a rut on. And these two specifically, you can see, well, in the show, the teacher character was very concerned about Hanako, or at the time, Akane, because, okay, so the teacher runs one of the 7 wonders, the library, and the library has everybody who ever went to the school in a form of the book of their entire lives. And Hanako, spoilers here, was the only one who ever changed his fate. I'm not going to spoil too much, but he was always watching over Akane because Akane, even in the earlier picture I showed, had bandages on his face. Akane's always been a sickly child. He was chronically ill, and it's especially when I talk about these lashes because they're so pretty. I don't know if it would work better with solid lashes. because if you look really closely, there is even color in the lashes showing. And I do love this style because I've been noticing a lot of the shadows are incredibly warm, even on cool objects, like for the cover of the book. If you look at the horse is, see, where did I see that? The horse is more cool toned, surrounded by warm tones, and but the shadows are very warm, and that shows life. Well, in objects like the Hakajodai, who are dead, there are more cool toned. Even on Hanako, I'm thinking I'm seeing a lot of more cool toned shadows, and that's really interesting to see. But enough about me ranting about one of my favorite shows to date. Let's try to encapsulate all that we talked about earlier into my own art. So I'm going to start with a very simple bust. I do just torso, torso, incredibly simple, not even trying that hard to encapsulate it. This is my normal torso, except I do this odd thing where when I try to style things, work with me here, you know what? This kind of works. I try to 3Dify it, except I'm not understanding fully. And I do really need to work on that. So, how do we make 2D objects and drawings look 3D? Well, simple. We use shading and colors to enhancify what our brain sees. We need to help the brain fill in the gaps. Because, simple, if we have a man who jumped over a log, we see a man jumping over the log, correct? But then bees came out. And then, if you know what this is, you can already see it. Your brain is already immediately filling the gaps. But for those of you who have never seen this thing, the man then jumps into a lake and sees two big white rocks. And I'm sure your brain is already filling in the gaps, but he also sees two little black rocks in front of those white rocks. And then the man sees two waterfalls. And then it's a dog. Our brain was already filling in the gaps. Let me know when you saw the dog, if you knew what this is, or if you saw the dog, or when you saw the dog, even, or if you didn't see the dog until I pointed it out, because you were so invested in the story. The point is, our brain fills in the gaps. So, to help 3Dify it, you must use a variety of colors and textures. And you can't just have, if you have the entire semblance of values and different shades here, let me just do this quick. It's going to be really rough, but that's okay. If we have the semblance of this, you can't just take this little section. It's very uninteresting. You have to take the whole section. You must use the darkest values and you must use the lightest values in order to create something that is both intriguing to the eye and something that doesn't look flat. And as we were going through the book, you may have noticed a lot of the poses for the characters were very interesting. And I've started to push this in my own art. You can see me starting to push lines more and adding more texture to my drawings. And then you look where I started. You look at how stiff everything is and how everything goes, I guess. And slowly you can see me starting to play. This is a drawing that I genuinely didn't finish because I wasn't happy with how the dress was turned out. But I still really like these heads. And I've been also trying to mash things together and create amalgamations. I have this very fun idea for a fake creature, or maybe even a deity or a spirit or whatever, where it's just a mash and mess and a chaos of wolf heads. For those of you who, I don't think I've ever mentioned this actually, but wolves are in fact my favorite animal ever. They are really interesting to draw, and I just like wolves. They're cute. But yes, But you can even see in the handwork I do. I start out very stiff until I move to push things further and further. And yeah, another thing I have been working on is pushing expressions. I am having a little struggle with same face syndrome, but eventually I am working on creating more interesting facial expressions. For example, my character Adler here, for a book I am thinking about writing. I have to finish the first one first, but I have a document open with a few words on it. He I really wanted to get the feeling of before the story happens with the family situation he was in and just like pull everything down. And we can use this in hair as well. His dreads pulled downwards, helping with this downward feeling, while Lunette is naive and wanting and hoping and still has dreams. She is downcast, yeah, yes, but she still has this hope. And even in her other form, maybe depending on what I'm doing with it, I'm mixing and mashing things. These are just ideas. And it's so incredibly to see interesting things. Here is a good example of the torsos I do now and the torsos I want to do. You can see the added depth to here. This is just flat and good for simpler chibi cartoons. This is where I want to be. And that leads me back to my question. How do you make 2D look 3D? Well, the answer is practice. Knowing these things will not help me. Well, not at least fully. They give me an idea of how I can improve, and they give me a starting point and an ending point, which is great for goals. But I still need to do the work. I still need to put in the time and effort in. I still need to find the motivation to hone my craft. I love art and I love drawing and I love sculpture and I love sewing and I love everything. And I just love it all. But we think we know things, but we don't actually know things. We only have a little idea. We have the barest bones. It's like this. We can see the triangle. Our brain is already filling that in. But if I do something like this, my brain can fill in the gaps because now we have everything. And it's kind of like that. I may think I know what I need to do to have this is really simplified, but I can see the triangle and I think I know where it's going. But then my thoughts are changed by just adding a few lines. Another thing I kind of want to start doing is using the shapes of the colors I add to it. A lot of the times, I'm going to split this in half to show you the old and new. So what I do now is I'm very straight with it. I'm very straight, but I want to help with eyes to increase that what you're seeing and help your brain fill in the gaps. You can already see it working here. This side looks flatter than this side by just a few simple change directions. So I'm just going to leave this side alone and completely work on this side now. So I'm going to get a little bit lighter, just a little bit, because this also helps with drawing the eye and making things look 3D. You can see how much even that changed. Now if I blend this just a little bit, and you don't have to blend, it's just a matter of preference, but even if I go even lighter, look how much that changed. All I added was 2 more colors to my one, and it's already improved. So I simply put this in practice. I change things, I deepen my values, I widen the range of shades I use. and I hone my craft. Art is about learning. Art is, you are never done with learning in art. You just simply have to adapt and change, and even in that, everything will be fine. You'll never be happy with your artwork, I don't think. And I think if we are ever placated completely with the finished product of anything that we are doing, we are losing the point. We are losing the fact that as long as we are unhappy with something, even if it's something as small as a line was a little too much left than what I actually wanted, that's an opportunity to grow. And it shows that you care about what you're doing. And that, I think, is how do you make something that's 2D look 3D. Alrighty, lovelies, have a great day and make sure you stay hydrated. Please stay hydrated and go have a cookie. And I love ya.